Welcome to Kinfolks Knowledge.
'77. JavaScript program to create two-dimensional array. Certainly. Here's a JavaScript program to create a two-dimensional array. JavaScript. Function create two-dimensional array, rows, columns. Let two-dimensional array equals. For let I equals 0, I less than rows, I plus plus. Two-dimensional array, I, equals. For let j equals 0, j less than columns, j plus plus. Two-dimensional array, I, j, equals null. Return two-dimensional array. Let rows equals 3. Let columns equals 4. Let 2D array equals create two-dimensional array, rows, columns. Console.log, two-dimensional array, 2D array. In this program, we define a function create two-dimensional array that takes the number of rows and columns as input. It creates a two-dimensional array with the specified number of rows and columns, initializes each element to null and returns the resulting two-dimensional array. Inside the function, we initialize an empty array called two-dimensional array to store the two-dimensional array. We use a nested loop to iterate through each row and column. For each row, we create a new empty array, two-dimensional array, I, and assign it to the corresponding index of the main array. Within the inner loop, we set each element of the row to null using two-dimensional array, I, j, equals null . After the loops, we return the two-dimensional array from the function. We create variables rows and columns to specify the dimensions of the two-dimensional array. We call the create two-dimensional array function with rows and columns as arguments and store the resulting two-dimensional array in the variable 2D array . We use console.log to display the two-dimensional array. When you run this code, it will create a two-dimensional array with the specified number of rows and columns, initialize each element to null and print the two-dimensional array in the console. For example, two-dimensional array, null, 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 null. The output displays the two-dimensional array with the specified number of rows and columns, where each element is initialized to null . The end.